chiropractic is waiting for you. Okay? In other words, you don't have to figure it out. It's being figured out already. And so you should love the journey, which is intellectual, which is philosophical, which is spiritual. You should love the journey because chiropractic, like a loving parent, is waiting for you.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Ellie Wright, Jackie Jakubowicz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go. So across from me is a beautiful, brilliant, incredible, it would take 60 minutes for me to introduce you if I were to give you all the attributes that you deserve, but you've been a game changer in this neuro-focused family practice. Dr. David Fletcher is here, everyone.
Yeah, I can't wait to be here. You know, we've been talking about this get together for far too long, and here I am in Studio PX.
Yes.
And wow, what an experience.
We've done the conversation we're about to have. We have had it a bunch of times. We're going to go more deep. We're going to go more updated, because every time we have this conversation about the Neuro Age of Chiropractic isn't coming. When we first started to have this conversation, whether it was Montreal or San Diego or all these awesome places we've been blessed to be together, we were having a trending, hey, everybody in the room, hey, chiropractors in the room, pay attention, this is coming conversation. That was kind of the frame. So the material that we'll teach was the same, but we were, I think, accurately telling them this movement, this trend is coming. Now we can say it is here. So we feel strongly that if people didn't pick up what we were putting down and take action to move their practice into this model 10 years ago, we feel that they missed out on massive opportunity. We now know that if someone doesn't make the moves today to this neuro-focused family practice model, they are going to miss out on massive opportunity. And we feel pretty strongly that they will be much more likely to struggle due to what's left instead of this, right? A very red ocean, back pain, red ocean, med spa, red ocean, right? Quickly.
Resiliency, longevity
center.
Tides.
We just told you about the massage therapist who's renting our office, who is opening a rejuvenation center. Yeah. So you don't need to go to school for 8 years to crack backs or tell people to jump in the infrared sauna. You have to really be masterful to tell parents, we got this. We know exactly what's causing your kid to be so sick. We know exactly what to do, and we're ready to take charge. I'm introducing some pretty bold conversation topics we're going to have here today. It takes a totally different kind of doctor to fill those shoes. And so can you take us all the way back and give us at least a good, cool, broad overview, because nobody does it like you, about the ages, the stages of chiropractic over our beloved, incredible 100-plus year history. And we're kind of back to where we began with the Neuro Age, but the public and the market is finally where we need to be.
Absolutely. And, you know, we've heard it far too often and everybody talks about it, but there's never been a better time. But you know what? You have to really give that some thought as we enter into what we're hearing and what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And just to sort of wrap up where you were just talking about, you haven't missed anything. No. You're still breathing.
Great point.
You know, you're still breathing. And if you didn't jump on that 10-year ago window of time, good for you, because you've learned what doesn't work, and we can promise you that what has happened in that 10 years is that there's been a massive evolution. And so it's like technology, you know, it's a bunny hop. And so now more than ever is the easiest time, and that's the word I want to focus on because it's so chiropractic, but it is the easiest time to jump into the world that we know works. So it's one thing to have a philosophical construct, and I think one of the strengths that both you and I really build our epistemological experiences on is that we don't struggle with the philosophy behind it. It is what it is. So when we talk about the ages of chiropractic, like you said, it's almost more of a remembering than it is even an evolution. We're just adding new technology interfaces
with
towards
plenty
that
of
whole
respect
thing.
and appreciation for it too. Total understanding why chiropractic would position itself in these different iterations given the time iteration that they were in.
Well, and you know, in any profession, you have to be nimble enough to not lose the experiences that you've had and the philosophy and the reason behind what you do, but you also have to be relevant.
You do.
And the world has to catch up. And the relevancy that we're seeing right now is that if you're not talking to the parent who is making the decisions, and we're going to talk a lot about that, about the well-informed, right? You're going to miss the boat. So historically. So
chiropractic, actually, I love that word so much. Can you tie this into these historical, where I know you're going next? So the relevancy of chiropractic.
Absolutely.
Really showed up strong during a pandemic, like an actual one, right? And but you have to position the product of chiropractic in a very relative way.
Oh, yeah.
And I think some of the positioning that we thought would get us the relevancy we wanted, insurance acceptance, medical acceptance, it did in a way that was like, you know, it's like going to bed with the devil. You know, you're like, I got what I wanted, but then I got all this too. I didn't want that.
You know, when you're, don't be sorry, but when you're in the middle of looking ahead, so often you have to get in bed with the devil just to figure out you don't love that path. Yeah. And so just as a matter of history, 1895 was only 30 years after the Civil War. And people have to remember that. And the reason I'm bringing that forward is that the medicine at that time of the Civil War and in the late 19th century, was bloodletting. And so it was, barbershop bloodletting and everything else. It hadn't evolved very far at all. Surgery was, sawbones and what have you. So
same as saying pharmaceutical industry did not exist.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, they had sulfur and that was about it, to tons of wound.
Super, super early stages.
Yeah. And so the realities are that chiropractic was born out of a necessity that was vitalism. And at that time, vitalism was about looking at people's ability to survive, not to thrive. Thriving didn't exist. Lifespans were very limited. Right. Yeah, lifespans were very limited. And at the same time, disease was truly disease.
Okay, how can you do that together, though? You got to help me with this, buddy, man. And everybody listening, by the way, this has been my entire career teaching with Dr. Fletcher. If you see a seminar and you're like, oh, Dr. Tony's teaching with Dr. Fletcher. Well, Dr. Tony really finagled his way into that job so I could learn with Dr. Fletcher. It gets a little awkward when you're taking notes on stage right next to him and and I'm doing it right now if you're watching video, if you're supposed to be teaching and learning at the same time, but it's actually my favorite way to teach is to be live learning. How can you have vitalism and survival in the same box?
Well, you can't. You have to, because you have to live long enough.
That was the era.
But listen, this is the whole principle that we as chiropractic took forward is that medicine was never antagonistic to the chiropractic message.
Never.
The professions were, but the message wasn't. Medicine's message, hospital is short for hospice, right? It was a place where you went to die.
Holy crap.
And the realities is that the whole notion of medicine was survival. It was not about thrival. And what people started to embrace was the idea that they didn't need medicine to experience life. And if you take a look at the 33 principles, which came much later than what we're talking about, they don't talk about disease or sickness. They talk about life. And so we'll get vitalism. That
obsession from a philosophical construct, and then we're going to put science and art into play from the philosophical construct of chiropractic. Its reason for existence is literally as far separate and distinct from medicine as you can get.
Yeah.
Hospice, hospital, only about survival. That was medicine back then. That's still medicine today.
It's just a different flavor.
And chiropractic's 33 principles are entirely about the expression and the maximizing of life.
Maximize
polar
expression of life. Exactly. And so vitalism is...
That's why it's so hard to put chiropractic in the medical box.
Well, it is. And being pigeonholed into a subset of medicine never worked because we didn't have a place in medicine. Like, even if they wanted to assimilate us, the best that we we could do is we might be able to offer a different way in which you dispense drugs, which they tried with muscle relaxants and therapy and Graston and whatever else.
Putting us inside the medical world is like putting me at the starting line of the Boston Marathon.
Exactly.
People are going to look, before the race even starts, they're going to look around and they're going to, that little chubby guy in there, those thighs are a little too thick for running this far. Okay. All right.
So mother of necessity, right? Innovation, mother of necessity. So chiropractic is born out of vitalism. And, in Didi's terms, and that is that you can operationalize vitalism by understanding tone of the nervous system. So the center concept of the nervous system being associated with vitalism and the tone or tension on it is the 1904 version of what came out of his learnings.
I love the word. Everybody listening, as you're really pulling in what you need to know from this conversation, including historical lessons, extremely relevant today. Relevance is one of my favorite words you've said so far. Operationalize. So what we're really going to get into is the different models of chiropractic available today that you could choose. And so if you want to operationalize nervous system focused family chiropractic, that's where we're living on this podcast. So this is cool. So he started to understand vitalism and the expression of life, and then he sought to get it
absolutely
model.
Don't forget, it started out with Harvey that he was racking vertebra because he felt that there was a connection between the physical symptomatology. But as he started to realize, don't forget, he was a trained classics guy, and so he was always looking at the what if and the beyond. So BJ comes in and he was the developer.
And he was an Iowan, so he's
he was a Canadian.
Well, let's just
my practice was in the cradle of chiropractic. You should come to Port Perry sometime.
So is this what made him so literally legendary? That he was Canadian and Irish?
He was unbelievable.
So he's unstoppable force.
Unbelievable.
Carry on.
So.
I felt like that needed to be said.
No, so BJ, we'll cross over a whole bunch of things, but BJ's world was to operationalize it so that it became a profession that people could use.
Didi didn't spend that much time trying to create an operational
No.
BJ
did.
Develop
and BJ went through the IO principle, which was to help people understand the simplicity of the complexity of chiropractic. But bringing it down to the practical practice model is that, there was this straights in the mixers, and then the whole schism of chiropractic started to shift. Why? Because vitalism was hard. Okay, It was hard. And in 1923-24, BJ, through the BJ Clinic, had developed thermography. And they were now looking at thermography as a way in which you could identify the presence of a subluxation pattern, not of the segmental. 100%. Don't forget, this wasn't segmentalized at this time. It was looking at patterns, and the IO principle said that everything was above, down, inside out, but it was down from operation.
When we say that's cool, let's go deep. So not only neurologically focused at this age of chiropractic, but when we say neurological focused or subluxation based, I hope everybody listening understands that a lot of people have bastardized those terms within our profession. They say, I'm a family practitioner. You go to their practice and there's no kids at all, hardly getting adjusted. They say, I'm a nervous system focused chiropractor, and there's only osteophytic, spinal degeneration models, x-rays, and stretching machines. They say that I am vitalistic and I'm subluxation based, but they limit subluxation to the spine instead of nervous system. BJ did not limit any of these things.
No.
BJ went to the operational model of nervous system focused chiropractic, in that pattern analysis means is the entirety of your nervous system, not the segment.
Nope.
Is the entirety of your nervous system in a subluxated dysfunctional pattern or not? If it is, you're getting adjusted. If it's not, you're clear.
And I mean,
the wholly nervous system.
I feel kind of like a poser. No, well, I feel like kind of a poser trying to condense what we're talking about. But I think people understand that. I mean, I'm not trying to suggest that that's what BJ was only about in this whole thing.
Understood.
I'm just using it as a reference point to kind of get to this. But there was this, there are the three ideas that were coming out of that time that, that the body is self-healing, the body is self-regulating, and the nervous system is the primary system that controls everything. And so when you put those three together, you can express life.
Cool.
And so that's easy. So there's the division between...
That makes hard easy.
Yeah, that makes the hard easy.
But it's now operational.
And so you've got this schism happening within chiropractic, is that people want to take the easy hard route, okay, who are now the tics.
Mechanism?
No, that's tics. So,
Okay.
so it's easy to find a subluxation, but it's hard to build a practice out of the whole thing.
Oh, understood.
Okay. And so what happens is insurance starts to come in the late 40s. And
Is there a movement, real quick in that moment, Doc, is there a movement towards mechanism, spinalism, leave it stuck on, don't like take the nervous system out?
no,
Did
not
that not come until insurance came?
I'll describe it the way I described it. Is that the nervous system devolved from being central to being from the IVF outward.
Oh.
And so now we take a look at the reflexes and we start to take a look at peripheral neurology instead of central neurology.
Which is the bane of my existence.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the late 40s, insurance starts to come in. And of course, you have to justify.
Okay.
And so now you have the relationship of where you've minimized vitalism, you've maximized this idea of mechanism and segmentalism, and now you have to pay the piper. You have to now put people on care planning that's associated with symptomatology, because that's what insurance does.
Connect the dots.
It's so so chiropractors did an amazing job of adapting to what was the easy part, which was to make the practice grow.
So the easy path, which is one of my favorite quotes, I could argue with my own brain to say it's my favorite BJ quote, is the path of least resistance is what makes rivers and men crooked. So in this 40s to insurance era, the easiest path with least resistance to practice success, to business practice success, is to mechanize chiropractic, let it be pathological, symptomatic, condition-based, build insurance, get paid. So the easy road has now left it so hard for a lot of practicing chiropractors today to come back to our origins of nervous system-focused vitalistic family practice.
Yeah, and so we shifted from having a nerve-first approach, which is our history, based on vitalism, to a spine-first approach.
So if you were to summarize them, if you had to, write it on a cue card, Era 1, version 1, nerve first, vitalism.
Vitalism, really, without the knowledge of the nervous system being able to show a pattern.
Cool.
Just that it existed. Introduction of technology, which could show a pattern. Okay. The shift away from that, which is now, don't forget, X-ray was used in 1895, so it wasn't, so structure was there. And I do want to remind everybody that from the earliest of days, it was called the vertebral subluxation.
Oh, and the way DD wrote,
structure.
DD only educated through, mechanical,
absolutely, racking vertebra,
the Industrial Revolution's coming on board, so he's making sense of subluxation in the marketplace that it was, and then BJ picks it up and takes it and runs with it. Now, what's crazy, I just have to jump ahead for a second, because that's what we're doing all the time. We're going backwards to really understand these evolutions and stages of chiropractic so that you can clearly choose the one that crushes today and will give you the greatest path to impact, the greatest path to success, the greatest role of fulfillment and enjoyment. The experience you will have as a chiropractor when you choose the right model is going to blow your mind. And if you choose the other models, you're going to be tough sledding. So the model of today is the model of when technology comes into play, and they literally, BJ and the best of the best of the best, they would have refused to take on a patient without technology,
without the precision of technology.
Oh, even better word.
See, it wasn't.
And then today, it should be illegal to practice without neurologically focused technology. I mean,
that's the whole idea. And so structure has always been part of function. Okay. You can't look, we live in a gravitational field. You can't be a mind. You can't just be mindful. You have to be physically mindful. Okay. And so we live in a gravitational field. So we got to take care of this meat suit and do the rest of this stuff we're supposed to be doing. But BJ codified the definition of the subluxation is that it had to have two vertebrae losing their contiguous nature. There had to be an occlusion of an IVF. But here was the other thing, and an obstruction of the mental impulse. The three components of it. So he never brought it in. It was always there, but he exemplified it. And then Stevenson came along, codified it through 33. So we move along this path, and I'm a product of the education where it was still very much a quasi-vitalist, but was losing it.
So your education, it was hanging on by a thread?
Hanging on. Well, Marshall Hymes was the one who was the originator of the neural image. Was the dean of CMCC, which is my thing.
And when I went to school at Palmer, it was on its way out as well, but you can't ever get it out of Davenport.
Oh, no. No.
That's probably an oversimplification of it, but I like to simplify things too. There were some professors, Dr. Burns, Dr. Strang, Dr. Virgil Strang, just like, it was there. You did have to work harder than I wish you would have had to work to find neurologically focused, vitalistic, subluxation-based, But
here's what I think is the capper for it all, and we'll finish off with the Neuro Age that you and I have been promoting. But I do want to put a big star beside this one, because regardless of where this transitional age of chiropractic is, and I want everyone to hear this, is that chiropractic is waiting for you. Okay. In other words, you don't have to figure it out. It's being figured out already. And so you should love the journey, which is intellectual, which is philosophical, which is spiritual. You should love the journey, because chiropractic, like a loving parent, is waiting for you.
It's beautiful.
You got birthed into chiropractic by free will, which was your choice to become one. And now you can grow into be a world-changing chiropractor if you just let it be.
Okay.
And so the let it be is about where we're going to talk.
So let's come back to where we are today. So chiropractic has been figured out. We know the clinical model that literally delivers miraculous results. You can't call it anything other than what it is. So we know the clinical model. It is entirely based upon a neurological obsession and subluxation-based obsession. Like in order to be a clinical maestro and what we call world-class clinical care, and we don't say that just to be cute. Like we actually mean that. That is our number one commitment to our patients. It's our number one commitment to the world through PX and everything we do. World-class clinical care requires depth of understanding into the science and philosophy of chiropractic. It requires depth of examination, scanning, technology. You need to look deeper. Literally, it says that on the box when you send it to us. You have to be able to look beyond the IVF, look beyond the bony tissues. You have to be able to look into the nervous system with depth, with accuracy, with all of its complexity, and then bring it back to simplicity. We'll come back to that, because right now everybody's like, oh, it is in depth and it is complex and it is so intricate. And that's why I struggle with it. We are masters of bringing the complex to simple. Okay. Back to Iowa, back to Canada. And that might be our grace. So we've mastered the clinical model. We know exactly how to get unbelievable results with the toughest of cases hear me. I know I'm talking a lot, everybody, but all of these matter so that you really get this. With chiropractic alone. See, what a lot of people want to do in today's version of chiropractic, and it's not new, is to try and dilute it and distract it, even in pediatrics. You'd like to think that pediatric and family practice would be this like pure place for principled chiropractic to thrive. But guess what's out there today? Primitive reflexes, therapies, supplements. I can sell you all these supplements. I can sell you all these binders. I can become a functional medicine integrated practitioner. That is 0% difference than adding decompression and shockwave to your back pain practice. Yeah. So it's the same issue. Or if you're chasing money, same opportunity to make a lot of revenue and have a terribly high overhead and not keep any. But I didn't say that. Okay, so we've figured out the clinical model. Yeah. We've also figured out, speaking of what I just said, we've also figured out the operational model of what kills it in business. And you and I don't like to talk about business so much, necessarily because we don't. The last thing that any chiropractor could ever know who wants to get trained and learn from us is that we give any craps about that other than its purpose to bring this work to the world, right? Yeah. Because ROII, return on impact, equals your income. You said it. You taught it to me early. It's he or she who delivers with the most certainty and the most value.
It's how you get paid.
It's how you get paid. Yeah. And so, okay. So if we simplify this all, what I just said, my rant there, if you summarize it into two, We know the clinical model that delivers world-class clinical results for kids and families today. It's not multifaceted. It's not functional and integrated. It's neurologically focused to the nth degree. And you deliver it through care plans and adjustments and certainty. We've also figured out in the business climate which practices are killing it.
Ooh.
Now.
Well,
and it's not very close anymore.
No.
Because the market shift has occurred.
Well, this is how we started this whole thing, and you have to be adaptive to the market space too. But one of the things that people have to remember is that the nervous system never stops learning. Okay, so it is learning bad habits, not intentionally, but it is always striving, and people have to understand this, to maximize its efficiency. It absolutely has one goal, which is to maximize its efficiency. And you might say why. And I can't say for sure I know why, but I can say for sure what I think I know. And that is that you cannot be your creative self if you are distracted.
If you're wasting energy.
If you're distracted and wasting energy. So I think that the essence of being human is to allow your creative self to be expressed. Not just the expression of life, but the creative self. And so to get there, just imagine how important it is to have a primally functioning nervous system with less obstruction in it. I mean, here's the easiest thing is that we have to detrain ourselves and deconstruct our sense of understanding pathology. And what we have to look at is performance. And so pathology versus performance is something that is going to be the benchmark of today's future practice.
Sure is.
There's no question.
It has, I was about to say catching fire. It has caught fire. It is, again, this was the conversation we've been blessed to teach. We probably taught this to thousands of chiropractors, and I'm so stoked that we have the podcast now because we can reach more easier and talk about this. Like if we'd have recorded this 5 years ago, we probably still, even 5 years ago, I don't even know that maybe even 3 years ago, even if we really thought about it and we're splitting hairs, we might have said this is the practice of the future.
Oh, I know.
We now, like that was one of my early episodes of this was really just myself having our conversation that we've had so many times of this, the family practice, nerve first, neurologically focused family practice is the practice of today. Clinically, that's where you'd want to tap it. When you really understand chiropractic in its most sexy kick-ass science, you would be like, I'm tapping in there. Give me that, give me that, give me that. And then if you understood, and then you're like, okay, well, I also want to succeed in business for my family, for my practice. You'd choose this one. And it would be a fast, easy choice, right?
Yeah, and you know, that timing, like you said, of the last 3 to 5 years is really important for people to realize.
I think so.
Oh, I do, because I said it earlier, you haven't missed the boat. You know, as embracing this concept, have been like Sisyphus. You know, you have to push the boulder up the hill. But nobody ever asks what happens to Sisyphus when he actually gets there and it rolls down the other side. It's easier.
Do you think while we were pushing this boulder up the hill the last many years, I just had this image of you and I feeling like we are so smart and we're saying things that are so right. Do you think a lot of people were looking at us like, you see those two idiots pushing a boulder up a hill?
Exactly. I think the visualization of these.
They're just shockwaves.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just over there. There's one walk. There's ultrasound in one hand, and they're just billing and cheering.
They just don't get it, right?
Oh, yeah,
These
totally.
guys. And then what happens is that all of a sudden, as the time and repetition show up, as the neuroplasticity of society comes together, because that's what we're really watching here, is that we're watching a neuroplastic society awaken.
Wake up.
And neuroplasticity is a reality. It's beautiful. And what we certainly know more than anything is that it's attainable. It's genomic in the human experience, but in society, it's very simple to observe a neuroplastic society because it's based upon time and repetition.
Well, let's just have some fun. Let's just go into business climate.
Sure.
You and I almost have to force ourselves to really isolate business and marketing conversations, but we're fairly effective at it when we do. And so if you go into the last 5 years or so, and we'll even let's go ahead and dash it to 10. The last 5 to 10 years, the personal brands in the way of performance,
Yep.
longevity, health and well-being, the resilience,
recovery.
This you're right. It's here and now, and it's you've not missed it. It's just literally crushing it right now. The people would be Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza.
Yep.
Right now, you have Andrew Huberman, you have Joe Rogan, you have all of these people are having Oura Ring is crushing it, Whoop is crushing it, Garmin is crushing it.
Yep.
You have Elon Musk is crushing it, right, with this neurologically focused concept. And so the nervous system showed up massively on the map.
And the word you have to add to the nervous system that crushes all of those synonymously is intelligence.
There you go.
And so it isn't the dynamics of an axial plasmic flow or anything like that. It's
not sodium ion channels.
It's intelligence having a pathway to express itself. And when people get lost in how intelligence can be of innate or universal or educated, just think of it as intelligence organizes. And so highly organized systems are more efficient.
So what people are doing is they're saying, I can help you. Yes, business people are saying, I now know this to be true. I can help you, the marketplace, learn this to be true. So first you have to increase awareness. You have to educate and get them to understand that this is where health, vitalism, and the greatest existence for your family is. So, and also, by the way, the path to awesome means we've solved your problems, because people actually buy the solution to their problem more so in the initial stages before they buy the grandiose vision. So many perfect storm families, I tell people all the time, if I ever screw up my communication, it's that I skip past the problem too soon, because I'm so optimistic and I'm so excited for the future, but they are living in the storm. So vitalism is a conversation they're not ready to have until the conversation is packaged in, this will get you there, but first it will get you out of your problem. So like the people that are showing up at Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and listening to Huberman, you know why they're listening? Because their life is jacked up and they don't want it to be anymore.
That's right.
It's really
that's right. But they see hope.
They see hope,
and they see a hope coordinator.
Yeah.
I don't want to say a dealer, but a hope coordinator.
A trusted guide, a resource, someone that they could listen to, a voice, a plan. Send me where to go. That's a perfect segue, because that's where I want to go as we kind of round third base with this is, so what the marketplace is looking for, moms especially. Let's isolate family practice.
Let's do it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
We're on the Family Practice Podcast. Moms. So if you were to be a branding, marketing guru and want to come into chiropractic and crush it, you would not try and create the next best Facebook ad for back pain and shockwave.
No.
That has been done 65,000 times over. You would understand this vitalism, nervous system focused expression of life concept that is chiropractic, that chiropractic owns. You would then go, holy crap, what an opportunity. The market is literally sprinting by ships full towards us. How do we position our message to moms who make decisions for the kids' healthcare? And so first, you have the benefit, chiropractors, you are a doctor, DOCTOR. So you have the ability to step in and step up with authority, okay? So this requires you to have certainty, clarity, conviction. So authority from and heart and soul and compassion and obsession to serve these kids. From that, you have to then back it up.
Yep.
When they come into the practice, you need to impress upon them. This isn't just a cute message we put out to the community. We actually back this up. We have the technology. We have the insight scans. We don't just talk about it. We be about it. You have care plans that give them a keyword plan. What moms want is their hope back first. Okay. They need a hope dealer. Second, they need someone to answer all their questions. They're up late at night, burning desire, answer to their prayers is subluxation. It really is. They've been searching for it. They've gone functional. They've exhausted traditional medicine. They now today, and I'm sorry I'm on one, but they now today have not only exhausted traditional medicine in the marketplace, what was hot, and it still is, but it's fading. Let's go out another 5 to 10 years, Fletcher. Mark my words. people will be selling med spas for pennies on the dollar because it is now the new red ocean. It's the new back pain clinic. It's the new spinal care, right? And so parents in my marketplace, they have not only exhausted traditional medicine and medication, they've now exhausted functional medicine, integrated medicine, holistic medicine.
Through the pathology window.
Because it's a pathology.
That's all it is.
They never bought into the philosophy. It's just, it's medical philosophy with supplements instead of medications.
And all they're doing is they're wrapping it in the language of vitalism.
Dude, it's all it is.
So it's just...
But they get found out.
Well, they get found out because the results don't match it at all. So here, so just a real life thing. You and I were speaking in London. Well, it wasn't London, but it was in
Windsor,
suburb.
You know me, very internationally traveled. So if you ever need,
exactly.
You, Nancy, need some recommendations on how to be a little more proper and a little more cultured.
Learn how to
go to your Iowa Farm Board.
Curtsy, right? And so we stayed on a few extra days from there, and we went to a lovely posh area of London, which is called Kensington and South Kensington. And in one stretch, it was probably 3 blocks, 2 on one side and 1 on the other, they had taken medical clinics and had turned them into resilience and longevity centers.
Do you know there's 3 buildings? The complex you sit in right now is PXHQ. I've been here 3 years. When I moved in, there was no chiropractors, no functional. There's 3.
I know.
Functional med spa. Yep. The people moving into the office that I moved out of on Congress Parkway is a massage therapist who's putting in a rejuvenation spa. They are. I just drove by. Literally, I was getting gas. So just go ahead and picture that. I'm getting gas next to the gas station.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. Up by the trio, up by my farm.
It's going to be like Dunkin' Donuts. Is that this branding around what you and I are talking about is ours to lose.
It's just organic.
It's just ours to lose.
Big Pharma's going to go organic. They're going to buy out, it's like people get so ticked, they bought out Tom's toothpaste, they bought out C8 chips or whatever. Well, Big Pharma, I actually take care of with intensive patients. I take care of the family. The dad is the R&D chief of a huge European pharmaceutical company. And so he has the ear of the CEO, and then the CEO is that's the direct report. And she was hired from the makeup industry. What happened to the makeup industry?
Oh, absolutely.
They went from chemically laced.
Let's call it osteopathy.
Perfect.
That's exactly
perfect
what
analogy.
It is. Yeah.
And so all they're going to do, and actually makeup is a perfect analogy, all they're going to do is put makeup on medicine.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, oh, it's clean, it's organic, it's, here's your organic Tylenol, here's your organic vaccinations.
Follow the money.
Yep. And so they are still, functional medicine still has the word medicine in it.
Yeah.
They will still chase symptoms, and they will at best work on system.
Surface deep.
Yeah. Nobody gets to the I. Nobody comes back to where BJ and DD started us, which is the I, the innate, the inside out nervous system function. And so, but you know who's figuring this out? That all these different iterations of medicine are failing them? Moms. Because you know what? You may accept poor health for yourself. You will never in a million years accept poor health for your kid. You just don't. You fight and you fight and you fight and you fight. You actually don't run out of hope. It may feel like it sometimes you run out of hope, but you don't run out of hope for your child.
Ever.
Nobody does. Not to the family, not especially
doesn't
family.
matter.
You don't run out of hope.
In fact, you can't.
You can't. It's literally, I think God made it impossible.
It's in you.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
And I know so. And so when you have this nervous system focused family practice brand, and your stand is your brand, and then you actually, now you just can't not hear this on this episode, guys, and then you have to back it up, because one of 2 things can happen. One, you can be about this with your branding and your marketing. You can take our PX model and our CLA model, and you can literally position your practice in the marketplace this way. And when you do, get ready for the floodgates to open because of everything we're talking about today. They're here. We're here. Let's go. They come in. And so one of 2 things can happen if you take that path. It works. You then back it up. So 1A option here is you back it up. You deliver clinically with the actual insight scans, with care planning, with neurologically focused adjustments, adjusting primaries and majors only, and not dancing along the secondaries and all the things. And you deliver miraculous results. And then those moms tell every other mom in the world, and people fly to your clinic. That's 1A. That's obviously the path. You should be listening to this podcast to learn how to replicate for yourself. And you don't need to, by the way, come up with it on your own. We know exactly how to do it. We've literally got the blueprint. Number 2, you could go 1B. You could position yourself this way. I guess there's actually a other option. You could just not do any of this.
Oh, that's the fallback.
It is default.
Well,
but 1B,
yeah.
you could do it. But then you could, when they come in, your brand position, this is the bane of my existence right now. Your brand position could say, I am nervous system focused, I'm principled, and I'm a pediatric perinatal and family expert. Then they come in and you don't run any neurological scans. You don't have any actual trusted recommendations. You don't take charge and give them an actual care plan.
How do you feel?
How do you feel? Come in when you want. Let's go 2 times a week for 6 weeks and see how it goes. Like that's you stepping out on, a freaking leap to do that. That mom finds out and her hope that had just been refilled is literally crushed. And that hope bucket is kicked over. And you know what she's going to do? Tell everybody within a million miles that you are full of SHIT.
Oh.
So we have opportunity right now, Dr. Fletcher, to absolutely capitalize this, make more impact, and blow up our practices than ever before. But let's be honest, we have the opportunity to screw this up too.
Well, and
I don't want to.
No, it's not. That's not fear-based. That's awareness-based. Yeah. And here's the thing: is that like anything else, it's a very powerful shift that you're making, so you better be ready for that. You're going to be attracting people when you elevate and resonate at the point of where you have this confidence to know that you can detect a vertebral subluxation through the neurological impact of patterning. You are going to start to attract people that believe in the fact that there's a better or more hopeful way. And here's what you just need to do, if I can be so obvious with it.
Actually, can you take us home with this one? We're coming back. We're going to do a whole series. By the way, this is episode number 1. It is. Oh, yeah. It's our series. You are now full. Well, it was planned this way from the beginning. You are our regular, trusted voice of the Neuro Age. So can you take us home with action steps?
Well, yeah, the action steps is that you have to make a decision. This is an educated, okay, it's in you, but you have to make a decision that you're worthy of a critical shift. Okay, that's the number one thing, is that you have to deconstruct or reconstruct how you want it to look. And it can begin with just simple language. If you want the easiest thing to do today, use one word in your mentition. Move your principle from relief to release. That's it. You release a pattern, you relieve a symptom. So move it away. You don't have to give up the principle of helping people. You can even talk to them about their symptoms and everything else. But I do, for sure. I care about the person, and that's how they're thinking. But your intention is to identify patterns and release them. You may not even know you're releasing them, so take the next step and identify them and measure them.
Yeah.
And that's the technical
Then
side.
From release, we can start to get to reorganization.
And then you get to reorganization, and then you get to vitalization.
You do.
So, and we can speak for hours on that. But
So here's a recap of our conversation today. Chiropractic absolutely has, I love that. It's a neuroplastic shift in society that has caught up to chiropractic. Yeah. When you read, we're sitting in this beautiful studio with all the green books to it. When you read them, you're literally reading language that you're like, this must have just come out this year. If you were a non-chiropractor and studied, you would be like,
or a parent.
Norman Doidge write that? You'd be like, oh, Huberman. No, this is chiropractic. They're literally singing the song that, we freaking built the guitar for.
Yep.
So this is the Neuro Age, and there's a neuroplastic shift. What is happening is, and it's awesome, it will pull you into this. The market is now there, giving you, the chiropractor, the practicing chiropractor or student and startup listening, giving you the opportunity to plant your flag there. Yeah. So there's 2 ways to look at this, and it actually becomes one once you're in practice. You first have to get there clinically, meaning your chiropractic abilities.
You're a doctor.
You're a doctor. Yeah. You have to be able to deliver at this level, okay? So you need to study subluxation with a greater depth and understand it. You need to study the clinical application of our work, the insights, the scan interpretation. Like, you got to just own this stuff. I'm not going to sugarcoat a single shred of this because nothing matters more than clinical. Second, you need to take your entire practice model, your entire business model, and ditch the spine. Okay, so you said ditch relief. I'm going to give them the one that I'm kind of famous for, which
Fabulous,
is ditch the spine.
Yep.
So if you want to have a nervous system focused conversation, and you may be practicing this way right now, where you're like, I talk about the nervous system all the time with my patients. I talk about neurology. I talk about the neurological components of subluxation. Like if you verbally say that on your website, on your socials, and in your practice, that's fine. But what do they see visually? Because 93% of communication is visual, not verbal. And so if you're saying nervous system, nervous system, nervous system, and you're frustrated by your daily existence because only back pain patients come in and they only leave and they continue to leave when their back pain is gone, even though you know their nervous system isn't reorganized and vitalized, and it frustrates you, it's your subluxated communication that is the problem, not the model of chiropractic. And so often, in order to move towards, this is a perfect closing. This is what we talked about in the waiting room. I can apply this concept to why I talk about, subluxation more than vaccination and everything else. So in order to move towards a vitalistic, principled, nervous system focused family practice, full of kids, full of babies, full of pregnant moms, ready to take care of the whole family with ease and simplicity, you probably need to delete, remove, and get rid of a bunch of things first. So often addition into a family practice, moving towards it, means you have to move away from these outdated, probably for you, now that you're listening to this and understanding this, probably completely incongruent to you as a chiropractor heart and soul practice anyways. And we'll really say this last. We know how scary that is.
Oh gosh.
I spent a lot of months not sleeping when I took my $1 million, I had a lot of this, but I didn't have all this. You guided me. You must have been so frustrated with me back then. You're like, Tony, guess I'll fly back in 3 months and I'll say the same thing to you and maybe you'll have picked it up then. So I had to completely dismantle my standard practice so that I could rebuild this beautiful family practice in the way. So I know the journey next might be hard, but that's the hard, easy path. It's about to get really beautiful and really easy. And it actually is. That's kind of the thread today. It actually is easier. First word you said that I wrote down is easiest time ever to be a thriving family practice.
It so is.
It is, so is. So we got you. You need help getting there. All you got to do, this podcast is for you. Listen to it 1, 2, 3 times over. Download it, subscribe, follow, share, send it. The moment one comes out, isolate your time, get yourself focused, get a notebook. We don't really teach through just clouds. We very much teach through step 1, step 2. We did it today with the iterations and the directions clinically you've got to take, with the practice model you got to take. So, and then especially if you love this stuff, Dr. Fletcher, I should pay more attention to the details. Are we dropping monthly, quarterly? I don't know, but we have a regular.
We haven't decided.
Yeah, you and I aren't, and we're not in charge of that either, are we?
No, we are.
Our incredible teams are. So you will have continued regular conversations at this table. I suppose some might have to happen on Zoom. Some might happen in another country. We'll see. We never know. And but Dr. Fletcher, thank you, dude. This is just the beginning of
I love this. And I love helping elevate the excellence with anyone who's listening and those who need to listen.
It's time to do so.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Take it easy.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.